live. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Welcome to episode number 4. We're going to be talking about perspective and the focusing on the metrics versus the craft of storytelling, narrating, making dope thumbnails, and stuff like that. And today, I am joined by, as you guys know, Slumber Reads, my wonderful co-host,
Hello.
and with his sultry voice.
Hello.
And we're also
Woohoo.
graced today by the man himself, Swamp Dweller. So thank you for joining us, Swampy.
I'm here and I'm queer.
All right, we'll get used
What
to
a start.
it. Instantly demonetized before we
Anybody
even
who
get
doesn't
there.
already know Swap Dweller, okay, all right.
Yeah.
If they demonetize this, we can just cancel YouTube for being homophobic.
We'll leave his number in the description. All right. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about focusing on the metrics. And where this comes from is seeing a bunch of people who get really distraught over their numbers, how many views they're getting, how many subs they're getting, and the general growth of their channel. And I've seen in my shortish tenure on YouTube and Twitter that happening with very young narrators. And it's disheartening because it's like, I feel like, at least in my opinion, they're focusing on the wrong things. Where, you know, if you focus on bringing in a certain skill set, whether it be your narration ability, even your thumbnails and stuff like that, the numbers and the views will come. But unfortunately, it's a bit backwards that I've seen it, and it sucks to see these new narrators getting so upset about that. And I thought, you know what? Let's just freaking talk about it, because I think it needs to be put out in the open, and we'll get your guys' opinions on it. I know we're all pretty familiar with it, so without further ado, I think we'll just jump right into it. So, Slumber,
Hello.
I know you're pretty passionate about this.
Maybe just
What-
a little bit.
Now, are you as passionate about, like, you know, starting out in the back of your truck with your phone? Are we gonna have that
Absolutely,
same?
man. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not starting out in the back of your truck, I don't know what you're doing.
Oh yeah,
Like, I
no
don't know if
doubt,
there's any other way.
no doubt.
I think people just need to not focus on metrics. Like, especially when you're just starting out, it's so much more about the experience. And I don't know, like I would even add like just forming connections, having fun with it, just doing your own thing, paving your own way, and focusing on those metrics is going to do everything but that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be just like the wrong perspective, and unfortunately, that can really set you up for like your failure. You know,
Yeah, I
down
mean,
in the
I
long run.
was definitely a suspect victim. I'm not even sure which one you would class that under of focusing on the metrics way too much when I started.
Yeah,
Like if a video didn't get 1,000 views, I was like, what did I do wrong? And I would just like harp on it and try and figure it out. And then the whole entire time I'm making that next video, I was just thinking about all the things that could get it to 1,000 views instead of just making the video good and doing something different. Like
now
I was definitely one of those people that chased numbers and not so much the experience.
what about you, Swamp? Did you do that?
Honestly, that's actually what I was just thinking about. No,
You never did.
I have never really paid that much attention to the numbers. There have been times where I have been down because I've gone into slope. I guess you could say slow points, but
Hmm.
I've never really harped on that. That's never what I really focused on. I never really wanted to be big. I never wanted to be the biggest. I just wanted to do something that I felt was worth something that I could be proud of and something that I could, I guess, maybe even sustain myself off of. And that was always what my goal was. It was always to focus as I can and just be trying to make myself better. I've never really, it's always been about perspective for me. I was always happy with what I had. I always put it into perspective. I probably have to thank Roberto Blake. I had a few sessions with him when I was starting YouTube because I really wanted to know what YouTube was and how to do YouTube. So the first thing I did was obviously look up how to do this, how to get subscribers. And I ran across Create Awesome and, booked some sessions on his website and got a lot of good advice. And the biggest thing I think that he taught me was just be happy with the crowd you have, because imagine if you have 150 subscribers, imagine that 150 people are in that room watching you read. That's a lot of people. You have to put into perspective how much, that really equals everything. And if you don't have the right perspective, you're not going to be successful on YouTube, period. If you think that, oh, because Swamp Dweller got 100K views on that topic and I didn't, I suck, that's just not the right perspective to have.
You know what's funny is I actually made this little website to do exactly that. And I can't even remember the name of it, but I still have it. And what it would do is you'd put in your like follower count or subscriber count, and then it would take that number and parse it out into a bunch of different items. Like, I have 10,000 subscribers. Well, that's, I don't know, 750 school bus fulls. Or that's like a small arena, 1,600 jumbo jets, kind of stuff like that, so you could almost put it into perspective. So
Yeah,
it's
I think people don't see the perspective until you do something like that. Like you really realize how many people that is. It just seems small because the internet is so big.
yeah.
Yeah, I've mentioned this before too, and my channel didn't really start to gain like really good traction until I started to focus more on entertaining the people that were already there and not so much trying to bring new people in. You have to play the game a little bit, I feel like, but it's so much more than just pleasing the algorithm. Like you really gotta figure out your audience, and keeping people around is just as important, if not more important, than trying to get into that algorithm.
100%. I feel like if you can keep 10 people coming back every video, that's better than getting, say, 100 views on one video, but then getting 10 views on every other video.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. So like, how many subscribers do you have on your channel now?
It's I know we're at 166K. I don't really pay attention to the exacts, but we're at 166,000.
So in that ballpark.
Yeah.
So like, even with that number and being the household name that you are, you still don't really focus on the metrics?
I'm not gonna say that I don't look at the numbers ever. The
Yeah.
the thing I pay attention to the most is the consistency of the channel. The channel is knock on wood generally usually consistent. Like I don't make the most money, I don't get the most views, I don't do anything like that, but my channel has always been consistent, and I think that's why my channel has been rewarded the way it has been. Because in my opinion, I think the most important thing about anything for a new channel is just consistency. Not to say you need to upload every day, nothing like that. Consistency equals trust. Building a catalog of content that people can depend on and know that will be there will help you out tremendously. Why do people come back so much to my channel? Because they know there's going to be a video every other day. And I don't break that, and I don't just run away and not update people, and et cetera, et cetera. That's why I always question why there's such undying loyalty to things like Mr. Nightmare, where there is no communication and there is no real understanding. But I understand because there's a consistency. There's going to be a video. So YouTube has a lot of anomalies, but in my opinion, if you're consistent, that's just going to build trust with an audience.
I think even like when you have that kind of consistency, and I don't know how you guys feel about that, but you can almost just take off without saying much if you have that
Yeah.
loyal follow base.
Yeah, it all really depends how you curate your audience too. People have to understand, like, Mr. Nightmare doesn't have to be super active because he never curated his audience that way anyway. It's like with me, I don't necessarily like I used to reply to every comment, every video. I slowly obviously don't do that anymore because the comments have gotten overwhelming, but I still reply to a healthy number of them when I can. But that's what I cultivated my channel off of. So if I don't do that now, I'm sure my fan base would be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like they would be really probably upset. So I can understand why channels like Mr. Nightmare don't have to necessarily be as active as say I would have to be, or you would, or somebody else, because that's just how they cultivated their fan base.
That's interesting.
I
It's
I
a
think
lot
that's
about the
something.
early buildup, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think your mentality is exactly how your audience's mentality is going to be. Like if you're
That's
positive,
interesting.
you're probably going to have a
Hmm.
positive audience. I don't have a negative audience. Like I have people that are negative, obviously, just like everybody. but I have never once in 3 years had any negative pushback, any negative anything from my audience, because I've always been positive with my audience and have always promoted positivity. So I feel like it's just that simple saying, you get what you give, and
Mm.
it's very true with YouTube. Perspective, consistency, and just your mentality will be how your audience is cultivated ultimately.
I can definitely see that because something I've been doing a lot for the past year or so is live streams. And a lot of the comments on my videos are just people asking me how my dog is doing, when the next live stream is. And people that are new to the channel seeing those comments are like, where did this even come from? But
Yeah,
it's like I have that core audience that's there for anything because
you make that
I've
personal
always
connection.
been, yeah, I've always been consistent. I answer their questions. I live stream and talk to them one on one. They like a lot of them have seen kind of the background of how I record my videos. Like it's all about that more personal connection. So
Mm.
now I feel like I'm at that point where I can upload pretty much any story of any category and get at least some views on it because
Yeah.
there's people that are there for me. But then of course the larger audience is always going to be there for the content. I feel like, but if you have that core audience, you get a lot more freedom to try different things.
Yeah, and that
That's
takes time though. I think a lot of people forget though. Just consistency is not just, uploading for a week and then expecting immediate results. It's uploading every, like, on a schedule time, say 1 day a week, 2 days a week, whatever it is, every week, like forever. Like it's not just like, oh, I did this for 6 months and now I can slow down. But I think the personal connection thing is even more important than just being a voice on a video with a scary story.
I have a, I
speaking.
have an I have a really really interesting question really quick that I'd like to ask you. How do you feel about people who come in with the mentality of having that blow up video? I already know how I feel about this, but do you feel it's more about building that catalog and the loyal fan base, or do you think it's more about finding what's viral and trying to grow that way?
I think it's both, because that's essentially what I do. I mean, I don't ever really go into something thinking it's going to blow up, but I do, like, I will do certain things after things blow up because they blew up. But like that's again just being consistent. Like I think it just depends on the perspective ultimately. Like if your only, mission is to try to go viral, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because that's YouTube. But at the same time, I think you'll have a much easier time creating a fan base that gives a hoot about you and will support you through thick and thin when you are consistent, creating a lot of content that's not just popular but personality driven. And I don't I think it takes both to be successful on YouTube, but I think you have to have a good blend of them and not, go over the line, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really good answer.
You touched on having that personal connection with your audience, and I think nowadays that is probably one of the biggest things that's going to get you anywhere, at least in my
Hmm.
opinion. uh, because you get that loyal fan base that will always come back. And to support this, and I debated whether or not I wanted to share it because I didn't want people to think that I don't know, I was trying to like garner attention or anything like that. But I shared it on my community tab exactly for that purpose, to not seem like this random narrator, this random voice on the internet, but to actually like grow a personal connection with my subscribers and with, I guess, straight up like the fans of the channel. So I posted it's probably been about a month now, maybe a month and a half. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and so I struggled with that for a while, and everything went fine. Now she had a double mastectomy and is now in 5 months of pretty aggressive chemo. So that's going to be a time. But I held that from a lot of people just because I didn't want people to think, I guess, that I was trying to like farm this sympathy or anything like that. But I decided to share that on my community tab with these people that I really don't know in order to seem more human, and not to seem as in a disingenuous way, but to build that connection where it's like, literally, guys, like, I'm not just this narrator that just sits here. Like, I actually have a life, and I actually
Yeah.
have these issues. My mom got diagnosed with breast cancer, and in the middle of this COVID pandemic. Crazy thing for all of you guys, going off that story. Um, so she went to have this surgery about an hour away in another city because it was like the only hospital that didn't have any COVID cases. And her doctor had set the appointment for the surgery 2 weeks out. But she ended up having the surgery 3 days after that initial phone call because her doctor, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to push up the date to the few days later. And I kid you not, she was the very last surgery before all surgeries were canceled. Every kind of surgery. And if that happened, she was probably like stage 2. It would have been very, very, very bad news.
Mm.
So it really hit home, and kind of in hopes to like build that connection, I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna take the chance that maybe someone will say something stupid and try and troll just to like build that connection so people will actually know, hey, this Stories After Midnight guy is, he's actually a human being. Because I think sometimes a lot of people forget that. They post that
Mhm.
nasty comment, right? Like, yeah, I'm going to stick it to Slumber. I'm going to stick it to Swamp because who really gives a crap? But then, they don't realize that, you're people too.
Oh yeah. I think
Yeah, I
people
mean,
think I'm a robot.
there's a huge backstory to how we're here and why we're here and why we enjoy this. And I think you're right. A lot of people overshoot that and don't really think about it. Um, that's why, especially in horror narration, I think in any content, it's important to some degree, but in horror narration, I think it's really important to kind of show your personality sometimes because we don't really get the opportunity to in our videos. I mean, we do, but we don't. Like, that's why I started doing intros. That's why sometimes I'll do like these random rambles at the end of my videos. And every single time I do one, I'm like, man, that is so cringe. Like, I'll just be talking about like what's going on in my life, any cool things that happened in the last week, just stuff like that. And I'm always really surprised because 90% of the comments are just about the ramble at the end, like, hey, that sounds really cool. Like, let me know how that goes. And it's like, it's it's really cool
Yeah, you build
that there
that
are people that
relationship.
yeah, that are interested in you as a person because it's really hard to not just be known as a voice.
Definitely. I would say that I don't like to call my viewers as much. I like or fans. I always found that like in my opinion, friends support friends. Random people don't support random people. And from my experience, that tends to be true. I mean,
Hmm.
there are obviously random acts of kindness, and there are good people out there in the world. But more often than not, friends support friends. And I feel like if you treat your audience as a friend, you will more than likely have greater success than as treating them as some sort of viewer or stranger or like I feel like when people are like, "Oh yeah, my fans," I feel like you're like literally just putting your arm out and keeping them at arm's length.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't tell someone on the street, hey, guy, random dude, my mom has breast cancer. Because you probably don't care. But, when you treat your I mean, literally your subscribers as friends, and you view them in that way, which I would recommend people do, um, then you can share that kind of stuff, and it doesn't come across as disingenuous and whatnot. So I'm full on board with what you're saying, and I think viewing them, uh, in the friend way versus just a viewer, just a subscriber. It's all about building that kind of relationship that you want, and the wordage that you use, and changes your mentality, and the mentality that you have will dictate how you treat those people. And it just is kind of this, I don't know, this big circle. It all comes
It
around one
is.
way or another.
I think it all circles around perspective at the end of the day. I think everything is about perspective when it comes to stuff like this. It's all still new. This whole online career thing, people being able to essentially take Hollywood and entertainment away from Hollywood and entertainment and put it in their own rooms and homes. it's all still very new, and I think the biggest problem is the perspective is still incredibly skewed by the average YouTube viewer. I see it every single day in my life. The average YouTube viewer thinks every single YouTuber is a Jake Paul, is incredibly rich because they have some sort of following, and that's just not true. You can see a swamp dweller and be like, wow, this is a big channel. No, not really. I'm a small channel. I am still considered by YouTube a small channel, and I would still consider myself a small channel too. When you realize there are well over I think 6,000 maybe now channels that have over 1 million subscribers on this platform, and I am not even remotely near that. So
Like, are you talking in like the horror community per
I'm
se?
talking about YouTube in
Oh,
general.
yeah,
People
YouTube
gotta
in general.
people look this is where everybody, in my opinion, is going wrong with this. You guys are too small with what you're focusing on. You're focusing on the horror community, and that's a terribly small community that isn't going to go very far. It's the same problem with cryptid channels. They do Dogman stories every day, and they only get 4K views per video. It's not going any farther, but they don't realize that. Go to a bigger audience. This is YouTube, the world's biggest page outside of the owner of YouTube, Google's. So what should we be doing is trying to affect or get in touch with every single person on this platform. So you want to look at YouTube as a whole, not just the horror community on YouTube. You're setting a glass ceiling for yourself that way, in my opinion.
Absolutely. That's why I've always been a strong advocate for like testing out titles, testing out thumbnails, testing out all of these things. Something that I've talked about before on these streams is uh just to be like oddly specific, but you can really put it into anything, is putting the word creepypasta in your title. You might get that instant success of people that are searching up creepypasta, but there's a lot of people that won't click because it says creepypasta, and their image of creepypasta is the like the 2013 2014 version of creepypasta, not what it's morphed into.
Devil.
Whereas if you go
You
with
say the
scary
devil?
stories or
Yeah.
um, something that I tested out before was like titling something. I didn't even put scary story in it. I put like a story of an alcoholic. The video didn't really work out in my favor. I mean, it still did good and it was really well received, but it just didn't hit the algorithm, which is okay. But it's important to test those things because otherwise you're going to be niched. And something I've always prided myself in is doing all topics under the sun, because there might be people that only like zombie stories. There might be people that only like Ouija board stories. There might be people that are really looking for the paranormal stuff, people that are really looking for the cryptid stuff. It's better to hit on all of those genres rather than just one,
Mm.
because you're going to hit that point where there's no more people to catch the eye of.
Oh, give me those
Exactly.
paranormal stories, bro. Inject them into my veins.
So I
I
keep
love those
mentioning,
kind.
especially like the Dogman community. That's just stuff like just makes me so sad. 'Cause it's like, how many times are you gonna tell like the same 10 stories and then get the same 5, 6K views and then have the same amount of subs and then cry every single day that you're not growing, but then never ever attempt to even say maybe cover Bigfoot or somebody else or something else. Like
Hmm.
diversity is so important on YouTube. Like you have to be hitting stuff like park ranger stories for me are a huge success. I have tons of videos that have gone viral and done very well, but I don't do park ranger videos every day. I actually hardly do them, and that's how I've kept them doing so well. In my opinion, I feel like the more you do something, the less you're going to be able to draw people in. Obviously, there are certain cases where some people can obviously do a series for like multiple years on the even the same title even and get the same views. YouTube is a very weird anomalous place, but you have to really base it off of what and what your experience is on YouTube really. And I feel that like the more you harp on something just because it gets views, or the more you focus on just one thing, you're really just kind of putting yourself in a box in a corner of a room that's very very big.
Well, you don't want to like oversaturate your channel either, right? That's why
I
like
mean,
you want to keep it fresh, because like you were saying, if you're always doing like X topic, I
mhm.
think people would eventually be like, okay, like here
I
we
would just
go
say keep it
again.
relevant. Like as long as it's relevant. I mean, I don't think it really matters. My channel covers everything under the sun, but I always keep it relevant, like upload to upload. Like if I cover small town stories, I'm not going to randomly cover something completely unrelated right after. I'll probably do middle of nowhere or state park or deep woods, something that is in the sense of a rural area as well.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it matters. Like there's so much more than just uploading a scary story. Like that's the biggest thing that I see a lot too. I keep saying that there's so many big things. Like there's so many things that people do that just drive me nuts. I'm just like,
Go off,
why?
Swamp. Go off.
It's
Tell
just
us how
not
you feel.
about. It just makes me sad because I see so many people like, oh, I upload scary stories and nobody clicks on it. It's like because it's not about the scary stories. It's never been about the scary stories.
The thing that I see so much, and I try so hard to not let it get to me, but if I'm being honest, in some ways it kind of does. Is people that are like, it's not hard to read a scary story into a microphone.
Oh my
It's like,
gosh.
okay. It's like, okay, all right. If you're gonna
Yeah.
blanket statement like that, you're right, you are. But how far are you going to get with it? How entertaining are you going to be? How much of your personality are you going to put out there? There's so many variables that will determine if it's successful or not, because it's not just about reading the story. I mean, yeah, if you want to say reading a story into a microphone isn't hard, okay, fine. But there's a lot about your inflections, even the way you talk, the way that you interact, the like everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How much do you stream? How much are you replying to comments? How hard are you trying to find good stories versus just something to fill in upload? There's a million different variables that
Man,
matter
it,
a lot more than just reading the story into the mic.
if it was just about reading the story, TTS channels would probably be the most like viral videos ever. Because you've eclipsed it and you're not even reading now. Like
Yeah.
you're peaking at that point. But yeah, like you said, there's just so much more that goes into it than just reading into a mic.
Yeah, definitely. YouTube is a science. It really is. It's a lot of math that goes into YouTube as well that I think people don't get. Like, there's just such a weird mentality about YouTube, and I never understand it. It's just a lack of experience. Not a lot of people are successful on YouTube, even though there are, in general, on YouTube, there are a lot of successful people every single day. But the average person out of the 8 billion on this planet is not successful in this new age of entertainment. So they assumingly think that, oh, well, they just upload videos and got lucky and that's all they do all day. It's like, well, the content has to be, created, it has to be edited, it has to be uploaded, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot that goes into just the videos and the stories you hear themselves. Not only then do we have to create a thumbnail, a title that's going to hit, try to find relevant tags, try to figure out what the new updates to YouTube are on that day, try to figure out what's popping in the algorithm, figure out how the last 10 videos of yours have done so you can make sure that if you're uploading something new, it's not going to completely tank. There's a lot that goes into your channel and your videos. And there's a reason why some people are much more successful than others because you can see that mentality just by even their Twitter tweets. I feel like
Mm.
you can tell the difference between somebody who really understands YouTube and then somebody who wants to be a YouTuber. There's two completely different things. Because if you don't understand YouTube, you can be successful. It happens. There are like one of my favorite YouTube anomalies, Airsoft Fatty. Like this dude has no idea how YouTube works, but here he is, making millions of views, tons of subscribers, killing it. It can be done, but it's just very, very rare. And it's just such an anomaly that if you follow what the good advice that a lot of people give out there, it might not work for you. But again, you need to not copy it verbatim when somebody says, hey, try this out. You need to apply it to your content in a way that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because if you try and be a carbon copy, the common mentality, and it's the accurate mentality, is why would I watch you when I can just watch the person you're copying?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you might get some viewers that don't know about the person that you're copying, and then of course they'll like you. You know what I mean? They'll probably stand by you because you're copying something that works. But it's gonna be that ever ending um like loom over your head of you're not really doing your own thing, and it's only gonna take you so far.
And
Definitely.
how much fun can you have by copying someone, you know? I don't know, at least in my eyes, I feel like that would just kind of get old. But I mean, if you're there to, I don't know, strike it big or something like that, maybe you don't care, but I couldn't see myself, putting so much effort into something when I'm literally just copying someone else's work, copying someone else's like thumbnail trends or title trends and stuff like that. Like
Same. I've never been able to understand why somebody would want to do that, but
it might be fun, when you first start out, but like the channel, at least in my eyes, it would never feel like mine.
Yeah.
You know, it would always just feel like some kind of offshoot of whoever I'm trying to copy. And
I feel like, generally speaking, you have to have something unique to your video if you want to breach further than the central community.
what?
Uh,
And you know what?
you
That
look
doesn't even
at
have to be huge. That
yeah.
unique thing doesn't even have to be a
Oh
big
no,
thing.
absolutely not. Um, I would say for me, it's my fictional story compilations for sure. I'm not saying I'm the only one that does it, but it's definitely what's made me stand out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's the thing that people kind of know me for. They know like, oh yeah, his title might be this, but you're in for a lot more than that when you click on the video because that's only one of the stories, one of the six, one of the seven, one of the 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, that's what's helped me stand out. Whereas other people, it's the way that they started up the popularity of cryptid stories, the way that they started the scary stories told in the rain, the way that they I don't, just a barrage of things.
I would like to go so far as to say that it could go even more basic than that. Like rather than your content being unique, like I was saying in the last episode or whatever, like just you yourself putting out this content makes you unique. Whether it
Hmm.
be the way you pronounce certain words, like your accent, or the
Yeah,
cadence that you read, how you sound naturally. I think even more so than just like the kind of stories you do, just by creating videos, literally, you yourself are that unique piece of content. But that obviously is just not like, that's not to say that, okay, now you should go and copy someone else because now you're creating unique content. That's not what I'm going at. But when you're trying to do your own thing genuinely, just the fact that you have an accent that you can, read or do other simple things like that, like creating thumbnails and stuff. Just the fact that you can do those things already makes you unique outside of like, the kind of
It's
stories you pick and stuff.
well,
I
yeah,
think
it's a barrage of things. It's everything that you are doing that is you, and then the things that you're applying to be different. It all adds up. You know what I mean? It makes you seem more and more genuine and more yourself the more that you apply.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say it's an amalgamation of a lot of things. And Stories After Midnight's completely right. The initial thing that got me to attention was not the cryptid stuff and was not a lot of the other stuff. That was part of it later on and did create obviously in the amalgamation of all the things that was unique about me. But the initial thing was at the end of every story in my initial videos, there was a little echo. That was it. That's how
Yeah.
it would be like, let's not meet, and then it would go to the next story. And people hated that. And that's how I initially got popular. It was people saying, "Bro, stop that. That's annoying." And I did that probably for 2 or 3 months and eventually stopped because I found it annoying too. But I
You know,
thought I was
I
unique at the time, and it did get me some attention. So
you'd be surprised. I get at least one comment every day from somebody saying, "I really like the fact that he says 'Have a great night' in the intro of every video." And it's the most random thing. Like it's something I've always done since the birth of my channel. I have always said that. Even when I wasn't like completely doing horror stuff only, even my comedy videos ended like that. And it's the most random thing, and it's something that I can play off of because I know people are like waiting for that "Have a great night" for whatever
yeah,
reason. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
sometimes I'll play around with it. Like when the lockdown started, it was like, "And as always, wash your damn hands." You know what I mean? And people like that shit.
yeah.
And
Wash your
you know
damn
what I mean? It's
hands.
something that like it's so small. It's so small, but it's something that people pay attention to, something that they notice.
Definitely. Another thing that got me popular at first was just me simply saying, "Let's get right into the story." It's like people are like, "Nobody does that." I'm like, I mean, I'm sure they do, but people just noticed that I did it for whatever reason. And the echo on the end of it, obviously, like I said earlier. So I would literally put an echo at the end of every story and every intro and outro. It was the most annoying fucking thing.
At least you
But
can admit it now.
people remembered though, and people came back mainly probably because they were like, I hope this guy stops eventually.
Well, you know what? Even if it does annoy them, they're going to remember that. So then even if they don't remember your channel name or where they saw it, they're going to remember that. And then when they see another video of you and then they hear that again, they're like, "Oh, this is that guy." You know
You
what I
just have
mean?
to start tagging your videos like weird your guy with the weird effing echo in the end so that people can try and find you like who the hell is that guy with that effing echo? Like
Oh my god, who's that fucking Shrek guy? That
Yeah.
guy's weird.
Just someone literally searching Shrek memes on YouTube, and it's like,
Dude, I think
Swampo, like,
me just memeing Shrek on Twitter really actually helped my channel too. Because like that's what almost everybody on Twitter associates with me, but I have actually never made an actual legitimate Shrek meme on YouTube ever. But like since I meme about Shrek all the
yeah,
time, it started as a joke on a live stream. My first live stream ever, I think it was like 10K subs or something like that. And I was like, I'm just here to kick Shrek out the swamp. It was something like that. And ever since then, it's just, that's one of the things that have been associated with me ever since. It,
I
it could
did
be
not know
so
that.
small. It could be anything. You can make a freaking joke on a stream 2-3 years ago, and people are still going to remember it and associate it with you, even though you don't really do anything with that. But as just to your point, that small things can like really all add up to one big success.
Yeah, I kind of I'm piggybacking off of what Slumber was saying is like adding that little bit of personality will do wonders for your channel. And now that we're thinking about it, like I removed the intro, which was very like, I don't know, Stranger Things esque in a sense, because I thought that maybe it would kind of be tacky, but people liked it, I guess, now that I'm reflecting on it now, because it's just one of those things that adds personality to your videos. And when you can tie your personality to like your legitimate relationship with the people who watch your videos and kind of create that whole online persona in a friendly way, I should probably add that back.
It's really interesting stuff. Like not talking about my audio intro, but like my actual like staple video intro. My the thing where it shows like my setup and then it says Slumber on the bottom, and then there's like that little like sound in the background or whatever. Uh Nobody ever comments about that. I never get compliments on it. I never get hate comments about it. Nobody ever says anything about it. Well, here like a month ago, I went to render out my video and I accidentally clipped the intro out, which isn't a big deal, right? Like, oh well, it's 5 seconds. Oops, whatever. So I
Yeah.
still uploaded it, and there were so many comments like, "Bring the intro back, bring the intro back," and I'm like, "Oh what?" Like,
And
I
that
didn't
was
Dude, I
even
just
know
get
of
you
those
you
guys.
comments on
talking.
videos with the intro.
Huh?
I get those comments on my videos with the intro. Bring back the intro, Swamp. I'm like, but the intro's there.
Yeah,
Wait, so
yeah.
is this just like Slumber? Did you have like a random intro? Is this like when you're talking?
No, no,
Like
no. It's
you'd say,
like my 5 second intro at the beginning of all of my videos, where like it's like a 3D animation of my setup, and then it
right.
shows like Slumber at the bottom. It's something I've always had. I've had that intro since like early 2016.
Yeah, it's like the
Um,
little image that like fades in and out.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Some guy on Twitter, he was really really cool. I tweeted out a picture of my setup, and he created an intro for me,
That's so cool.
just randomly, and I've always liked it, and I've never changed it. And just one video I forgot to well, I didn't forget to add it in. I accidentally rendered it out, so it wasn't in the video. And there were so many comments like, bring it back. And that's the only time anybody's ever commented about the intro, was when I forgot it. So
Interesting. It's kind of funny, right? Because then you might think, well, no one really cares because no one explicitly says anything about it. And then once it's gone, then you kind of realize, oh, wait, people actually like that.
yeah.
People also hate change.
That is also true.
To be fair, if
That
you
is
have an
also
audience,
true.
people hate change. Trust me. I am a very diverse channel and do new things all the time. People hate my crime videos. They also love them. But the people like, this isn't Skinwalker. What's the point? It's like, well, fuck you.
I'm Swamp. I do what I want.
Well, I make Shrek memes, so
You do. Wait, did you say Shrek news or Shrek memes?
both. News. Shrek is news, bro.
Track nudes.
Like,
Newts.
you know,
Actual newts in the swamp. They're the little freaking amphibians, bro.
I would watch a Shrek news channel if it was just you talking about like your encounters with this Shrek and your day to day.
I would do that incredibly scuffed. I'd have the whole like Keemstar setup, but like the camera is incredibly grainy. It's me like tripping over stuff. It's like super zoomed in. It's just like it's gonna be basically every Bigfoot video ever,
Yeah,
but just me.
like Cloverfield, and then you've got this poorly cut out and rendered Shrek in the background or something.
Yeah, it's just gonna be absolutely terrible. I'll make a skit for it. It'll happen.
I would watch that.
I've thought
Maybe.
Watch the
about that
hell
kind
out of
of
that.
stuff. Like if somebody was to make a channel, I mean, there's examples of it, but make a channel on like the most obscure thing that makes absolutely no sense, like a Shrek news channel. It would probably go viral
Well,
once
It
it was
would do well.
yeah,
discovered.
no, legit. Like it's 45 degrees here in the swamp. You know, I just saw Shrek with his ass hanging out, going to get his newspaper, kind of like that, right?
Yeah, like
You
look
know,
at the I mean this was a while ago, but like the Spoderman channel, I think it was.
Yeah, yeah. All those meme
Like
channels do
oh
good.
my
it was
gosh.
huge and it was the dumbest thing. It was so stupid. But it was crazy successful.
Dude, YouTube loves its fucking memes, man. And if you can get a good channel like out there, like not even just like those meme compilation channels, but like you're talking about like the Spoderman character, the dumb, just like stupid like 30-second videos that make no sense, but for some reason people just watch them over and over and then they just get recommended. And then it's just like a whole freaking plague of just seeing these odd videos on your timeline at 3 a.m. and you're watching them and now you kind of just question your existence.
Like, what if you just started a channel where you uploaded videos with no context? And maybe it's you like telling a story, but it sounds like to the normal person that it actually happened. You
That would be
know,
pretty
I feel
funny.
like that's how people look at my channel anyway.
I've done
who
a
is
few
this guy?
I've done a few things similar to that where it's like been like like kind of comedy skits on like milestone videos. Like I had one with Unit where he was like congratulating me, and then like he goes into this emotional breakdown because he's like, my channel's so much bigger and Swamp is growing faster. It's like this hilarious kind of thing like we're talking about now, like how people
Yeah.
compare each other all the time. And then it just breaks down into him all of a sudden like breaking out like a meth ball and it's like fuck it, you know. And it's like it divulges into some crazy stuff. I have definitely experimented with some weird things on narration videos. I'll have to
No.
find that video and send it to you guys.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Actually,
I would like to see
quick
that.
question. I hate to like bring it into a serious question, but how do you feel about people that play the compare game?
I think it's
That's a good
dumb. It's just
question.
poison. It's literally poison. It's like shooting yourself in the foot. It's like if you're brand new and you're looking at somebody who has a veteran tenure, I guess you could say, then it makes no sense. Like if like when I first started, I genuinely wasn't a fan of narrations. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what a corpse husband was. The first time I remember somebody said corpse husband to me, I literally asked them what that was. I didn't say who that was because I didn't even know if that was a person. They're like, do you know corpse husband? I was like, what is that? And I was like, I
What
don't
is
know.
that?
I just didn't know. I
Yeah.
just wasn't a fan. And I started narrating because I had a podcast where I interviewed cryptid researchers and people who claim that they had encountered these monsters out there. And more specifically, I got really popular talking about a newer cryptid called Dogman, and that's where initially I got a big following. And I moved to YouTube because I wanted to do something different. I got bored with that, and I had a friend at the time who had a YouTube channel named King Spook, who was like, "You should narrate." And I just, that's why I think my experience might be a little different from most other people's because I'm not a fan coming into this. So I feel like if you're a fan coming into this, the biggest thing you have to realize is remember how long of a time you were a fan of Corpse Husband. Remember how long of a time you were a fan of Swamp Dweller before you start your channel and then be like, well, why am I not successful? I remember so many people like, I remember when you had 6K subs. Then remember that when you have your own channel, because remember how long ago that was and how long ago it is now. It took all that time for me to get to where I am now. So you have to understand that like comparing your success in a short time against my success from a long time makes zero sense anyway. So you're just going to make yourself sad, shoot yourself in the foot, and pretty much just more than likely end your own motivation. Like without motivation, YouTube is impossible, period.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's
very
hard.
very few very few stories are the same when it comes to how people started. For me, I've already told this on this podcast, so I'll make it really short. I started off in a Call of Duty team. They wanted me to make a channel so I could hold my roster spot, whatever. Uploaded a couple videos of some like funny story times, mentioned how I get sleep paralysis sometimes. People wanted to hear sleep paralysis stories, and it snowballed. Okay. I had no idea that horror narration was even a thing when I started. I had no clue. And I remember being so bummed when I found out that it was, because like I thought I was kind of like um starting
I'm a
something, you know what I
visionary,
mean?
man.
Yeah, I was like, I'm a visionary. Then all of a sudden people are like, yeah, dude, like this channel is kind of like a different kind of Mr. Nightmare. And I'm like, oh, who's that? And I looked him up and I'm like, oh.
Feels bad, dude.
So bummed, you know what I mean? But But like over time, I kind of implemented different things that I saw worked in my own way, and now I'm just kind of known as one of the narration channels. Like I've kind of lost that, Call of Duty in the background with no creepy music, just spitballing something off my head or something that I wrote or whatever. But there's so many different stories of how people got into this, and I think it's really interesting to hear them. Because there's nothing wrong with coming into this being a fan either, but
No,
there's just so many different stories, and you just have to realize like your come up and your background isn't going to be the same as the next guy, even if you got into it for the same reason.
definitely.
You
Like you
know,
I
still
think we all
gotta.
start for the same reason, right? Like we all start because we want to be a YouTuber, or we enjoy YouTube, or we have some sort of interest in what we're creating in general. So, and we want to share it with people. So I think it's like
Yeah,
everybody has the same idea at the beginning. What people's intentions are, I don't think matters. I think that's another. I don't know if that's on the list, but another thing that people do all the time is they constantly want to criticize what other people are doing something for. And again, that's poison. You're poisoning yourself worrying about what Joe Schmo's doing. Who cares what Slumber's doing on his channel? I have to worry about what I'm doing on my channel. If you're looking at what Slumber's doing every day, how are you ever going to notice something happening on your own channel? You don't notice the small victories or the small successes or even the big victories or big successes because you're too worried, with what Slumber's doing and what Slumber's saying and what he's tweeting and what he's posting. You have to be in that mindset. Who cares, dude? Honestly, like who cares? You have to care about yourself before you care about everybody else in their business.
it's about building your own brand, and something that I see a lot, and again, I've mentioned this before, but is people feeling like they have to format their videos the same as everybody else. You don't. You don't. Like, I mean, different things are going to transfer differently, but just something off the top of my head, which I wouldn't personally do because I just don't have the. I feel like my audience would enjoy it just because I've grown it differently. If you wanted to at the end of every story talk about what you liked about that story and elaborate on it and stuff like that, you can. There's nobody saying you can't. It's your YouTube channel. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's not like you have to just narrate the story and upload it. I mean, you can do whatever you want with it as long as you're not changing the story itself. I mean, I guess that depends on if you wrote it and all that other stuff. But at the core content, there's no specific way you have to do things. And I wish more people realize that.
yeah,
Do your own thing, man. Follow your own path. It's just like in kindergarten when they say treat others how you want to be treated. Follow mind your own business. Don't be a tattletale. It's like just apply the basic BS to your everyday life and your career and your aspiring careers such as YouTube. And you'll have such a better time because you're gonna notice the small victories, like I said earlier. Like I feel like most people don't take any pride in that. Like obviously on Twitter, you're gonna see every day, I just hit 200 subs. Awesome. Like that's cool. But I also think that that's kind of toxic too because you're not looking at the right victories, in my opinion. Like being excited about subscribers is one thing, but like when all you post and all you focus on is that one thing is how many people are subscribed to you, that's toxic because you're not focusing on what actually matters. How long are those people watching? Are they coming back to videos? How often are they coming back to videos? How long? How many times are they watching? How many times do they click? What is your click through rate? Et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot that goes in. Like if you have a video that is retaining more people than usual, what about that video is retaining people? You can see the exact moment people are clicking off on average on your videos. So why aren't you looking into
yeah.
that?
Funny story. Not to, I don't mean to cut you off, but there's this video I put up called Daddy's Girl, and it's got like 70,000 views right now, but it has an average retention of like 2 minutes. And if any prior comments are an indication, it's people on YouTube looking for like incest porn stories, realizing that that video is not that and clicking
Oh
away.
no. Dude, that's the worst, dude, when YouTube picks up your video. Because this happened to me with the Park Ranger video where it get picked up into some weird Power Ranger fandom.
Oh yeah, no, legit. I swear, I've had people coming on like, I was looking for like incest fetish stories, and this is not what I was looking for. And I'm like, yo, what? But it's like got 70,000 views, and it keeps on climbing and climbing and climbing.
It's more disappointed and more disappointed pedos on the internet.
It's just like there was literally one dude that posted some
Views.
comment about it, and I didn't know how to respond. I'm just like, LOL. He's like, yeah, I bet I'm not the only one. And I'm like, no, the scary thing is you're not. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, YouTube's a weird place. Sometimes stuff like that happens, and it's just terrifying. But I'm not saying you should maybe run with the child porn fan base, but
I didn't mean to,
usually
man.
now
I didn't mean to.
the Power Ranger thing for me was a little bit less uh creepy. So I was like, I rolled with it, and I was like, yeah, dude, I just went with the Power Ranger memes. But it's very interesting how YouTube algorithm can just like promote you to like some completely odd and niche group of people out of nowhere, and then you just have all these weird people like posting just strange comments, and you're just like, so YouTube's worried about us cursing or covering something too scary, but not about these weird communities on their website. Okay.
I'm really glad. I don't think I've ever had anything to that extreme. There was one time I uploaded a video and it got like over 100K views in the first couple days, and you could tell just by the comment section that like 90% of the people had never heard of a story narration before. Like they were all there for animation is what it was.
Mm,
Like they were looking for I don't know if they were even looking for animated scary stories. I think they were just looking for like animated videos. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And they were all so confused, like, "Why is there just a picture in the background? Where's all the characters?" And, like, it's like, "Well, it's just story narration." And,
That,
like, that's cool, it's cool, they just didn't know. But there were a lot of people that really did dig it, and a lot of people subscribed, and I'm really
yeah, it
thankful for
works
those
out.
people, you know what I mean? But,
That happened with me on the Vietnam stories I put out. Those are like my initial, videos that blew up. I think they have like 400K views each or something like that. And so many people like came to that video thinking it was some old guy sharing a Vietnam story. Like I guess there's a whole niche of people that do that on here. I guess people vets share their stories. I should call them old guys, I guess. But the premise of the story is essentially, a veteran telling a scary paranormal story from Vietnam, and all these creatures come out from the ground and are attacking the army and all that. It's a pretty wild story, but the amount of people that were like there to like show respect to this war hero, and then I have to sit there and be like, oh, but this is a creepy pasta, is like really awkward sometimes. But a lot of them stuck around, and I ended up, obviously start sharing their stories that they would send in, and started the military series. So I think sometimes those awkward like algorithm things can be very beneficial when it
oh,
comes to getting
definitely,
like a new
definitely.
diverse group.
Yeah,
A
yeah. Because I
diverse
mean,
group.
I
Welcome
still
all
get
pedos
comments
to
all
my
the time
channel.
from people saying that like, "Yeah, you were the first narration channel I ever watched, and it was that video." You know what I mean? So it's like I'm really glad that that one video did that because, um, I'm not gonna say it like morphed my channel or anything, but I think it definitely helped it along and kind of gave me a little bit more experience with something that hadn't happened to me before.
You know, kind of hopping back a bit to when we were talking about comparing, that's literally the one thing that I struggled with for the longest time. And even still, it's in like an active process not to do that. I remember when I first started and I had like 12 viewers or like 12 views on a video or 12 subscribers. And I was pretty sure like three quarters of them were like my friends and family just doing it to show support. And it was the coolest thing when you'd get like 13, like literally one subscriber a month, maybe. And that was the sweetest because you're like, all right, that's cool. Like I got a new fan. And then when you
Yeah.
get up to this level, it's like, well, yo, why am I only getting 10 every day? Why am I not getting more? Why is my video not going viral, or why don't I have the same amount of subscribers as X narrator who started after me? You know, why am I not growing like them? What am I doing wrong? And I got really deep into that. I focused super hard on comparing myself to others, and it's one of the things that almost ruined it for me. And it was about the time where I think I deleted the YouTube Studio app and just said, I'm not going to look at the metrics anymore. The only time I'll check it is when I deliberately switch accounts on YouTube itself and manually go into the Creator Studio and check. And ever since doing that, man, it's been so nice. It was just,
Yeah,
I think it
I
helps a lot.
I let
I
my
think it
perspective just focus on the wrong thing and just drill right down into it instead of doing this because I enjoy stretching, my voice acting abilities and my narrating abilities and my other creative abilities when it comes to um, intros, outros, thumbnails, and stuff like that. And then getting to know you guys. So it was it's a very toxic thing to do. Would not recommend.
I think it's absolutely perspective because there's some days where I look at my numbers and I just remember how happy I would have been back in 2015, 2016, even 2017 to see the numbers that I'm getting. So I think there's a healthy way to look at it where you can look at it as motivation, but it's also just as easy to look, oh, 2 months back I had 30% more because you can look at these specific analytics and they show it to you and they shove it in your face on those apps,
Mm, dude, I
um,
hate it so much.
and feel the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So it's really about perspective. I try my best to just remember like, okay, when I started up my channel when I was 19 years old, what would I be thinking right now seeing this? What if I went back 5 years and showed myself this? I'd be through the roof. Like I'd be so excited.
Oh,
And
absolutely, man. Like there if I would have thought when I first started that I'd be sitting here almost at like 3,800 subs and like having this, dedicated group of people who's some reason like my voice. If I thought that I'd have like this really friendly Discord group and friendly people to talk to in my community tab that are interested in, what I'm interested in doing, like I never would have thought that would have happened. You start out thinking maybe that would be cool, but do we ever really expect it? I don't think so. At least I never did. I never
well, I
expected it.
think I think part of it is I don't know, like say you hit 10K, 20K. It's it makes it, I mean, like, let me word this the best way that I can. It makes it hard to really put it in perspective because you think about all of the time that you've spent recording,
Mm,
all of the time that you've spent on your channel, all of the hardships and all of the this and all of the that. And it's like, are you really surprised that you hit 10K, 20K? It's like, not really. But you still got to remind yourself that to be grateful because it
yeah.
could have just as easily never happened.
That's
But
so hard, man. Like I've got I think 220 videos right now. And in my eyes, for the longest time, I thought I should have a lot more because, I put out a lot of videos. I should get some equal growth in viewers and stuff like that. And it's just been like this crazy, toxic drilling down into things that literally don't matter and forgetting why I'm even here.
which is all just for the love of it.
It really is, though.
What do you think about all that, Swamp?
I think there's more pros than cons on not checking your growth, to be honest. I feel like if all you, because I used to do this myself, not with the subscribers, but mainly with things like watch time, and just like click through rates. And so I used to focus on things that like the normal person would be like, why would you care about that? Because to me, those things mattered more than how many people were subscribed to me. I think it's all about the understanding. Subscribers really don't mean anything on YouTube anymore. If I'm gonna be honest, like the moment they devalued it even more by adding the membership option. Like it doesn't matter if you have subscribers anymore. Notification system doesn't work. It does none of that matters. So I don't care about that. So I think it's just once you need to have an understanding of what matters on YouTube, what actually is important for your channel, because there are a lot of channels that could be say small, say 2,000 subscribers, but you can make a living off of that and be a very successful channel without being successful in the eyes of the masses. Just because you don't have 100,000 subscribers or a YouTube plaque or anything like that doesn't mean your channel's not successful. Doesn't mean you don't have a career, etc. I mean, I think Slumber is a good example of that. He doesn't have a YouTube plaque yet, so I'm sure he will get one, but he's doing just fine. He doesn't need all of these accolades and all of these things that are really just surface value, because that's all it is. Subscribers are just surface value. They really only exist these days for brand deals and to make yourself feel good. That's
Mm-hmm.
really it. That's what it's for. Like nobody actually cares about your subscriber count but yourself and maybe some sponsors. What people care about is the watch time. What people care about is the content, and what people really care about at the end of the day is the quality of what you're putting out.
Yeah, I
Success
think,
is
I see a lot of people really surprised that I'm full-time with not even 70K. Well, I've been full-time since I had 20K. And but like I know people that have like 4K subs right now, but they upload twice a day and get 4K views every video that are full-time and might even actually be doing better than I am. You know what I mean?
jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, sub count can mean nothing. Um, Something else, when I came back from my 6-month hiatus, at the beginning of 2018, I had 12K subs. I was getting like 200, 300 views a video, and people were like, "Oh, dead channel. Should have just left it dead. Whatever." Um, I was like, it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It really doesn't because I mean, like, if I get into the algorithm or whatever, which I still wasn't really going for, uh, that 12K can look pretty active pretty fast because a lot of your views don't come from subscribers. Like for example, you can look at it in your analytics. I think like I think it's like an even 50-50 split for me, but I know people that get 80% views from non-subscribed channels. Only
That's
20% of
better.
their views are coming um from subscribers. And you might think that's bad, but that means that they're really really getting their videos out into the algorithm.
Means you're growing more. Like you're
Yeah,
you're you're hitting new audiences more. Like it's good to have a good, fan base watching your stuff too, because then it means your subscribers are active, which is obviously good as well.
exactly. It's
Success
very it's
is
very interesting stuff.
success is like literally what you make it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it is. Success is relative. You could think you're
Exactly.
successful, and you could very well be having 100 subscribers, but you've got, 5 loyal people that you can talk to in your community tab or that you can rely on to watch your videos. And that might be just, good enough for you. And that's great. It should be. You should always strive for more, but never become, I guess, obsessed with more. Keep success as I don't even know how you would define success in that. I guess success for me is just going in the right direction, cultivating the right kind of community, and just being able to upload videos and enjoy them with people who like the same things I do. And that's, if you peg success on having 100,000 subscribers, then what when you hit that? 500,000? Then what if you hit that? What if you then set it on 1 million, but you never hit it? Were you never
Mm-hmm.
successful? You
I feel
know,
like it's a hollow thing. Like when you set like number goals, I feel like it's like a hollow achievement because like once you get it, you're not really happy because you just want more. There's always that, when you set number goals, I feel like that's all that you're gonna do is that you're just gonna go to another number after that.
oh
It's like
yeah,
hollow and meaningless.
you'll like never be satisfied because you'll always be chasing the next thing. And then
Yeah, it's hardly fulfilling.
yeah, because what if you don't hit it, right? You could
Mm-hmm.
have 10 million subscribers, but because it's been, 5 months and you didn't hit 11 or whatever, then what? You're going to feel like
I
crap because
think
you've,
I think a
you
lot
know,
of it just comes off like social status. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. It's tough because like for me, I want to hit 100K, sure, but ultimately it won't really make a difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
like it won't change anything. And you might think like, oh, well, then you'll have 30,000 more people watching your videos. Well, not necessarily. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
getting the
not
same views now that I got when I had 20K. It hasn't changed. Like it's still the same. You know what I mean?
views are
Um,
always going to be an up and down thing anyway. It's all about season of the year, et cetera, et cetera. Like views go up and down just like everything else in the world does. So no, like just because you have a following of say like me, almost 200,000 now, like it doesn't change. Like Slumber said, like I don't go outside and suddenly a million people, oh my God, Swamp Dweller. That's happened to me like once or twice because some people have genuinely been fans and recognize my voice. But outside of like that, I've never had somebody run up to me and be like, "Oh my God, you're this fucking god." Like, no, like I'm. It's not a. It doesn't really change anything. Like it's not a massive societal change. It is awesome to know that like 200,000 people know who you are and care enough to say subscribe or follow you on Twitter or something like that. But I don't really think it changes anything, like Slumber said.
Well, yeah, and then I mean we could even bring it even deeper, right? A lot of people have this thought that, oh, if you get big on YouTube, you're gonna start getting fake friends and this, that, and another. In some cases, that might be true. I think it really depends on what community you're in. But I can tell you one thing for sure: anybody I have ever met in my personal life that has found out what I do has not cared at all. Like they don't care. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you're just going to become famous and your life is going to change and you're going to have, you know, uh girls in your DMs every day and this, that, and another. No, it's not like that. You're still human, like um a number on a website is not going to change who you are, how you live your life. It's not going to change anything.
Most
Um
people just probably think it's cool, and it ends at
well,
that.
yeah.
Because in
I
my
mean, yeah,
experience, they'll be like, "Oh, that's cool."
sometimes. Yeah.
Then they have a few questions for me. Like they'll be interested in it, but it doesn't like change the relationship. People don't think I'm like a celebrity or some sort of, rich millionaire all of a sudden. Because I think that's a big thing that I experienced when I think it's the thing I experience the most now, just online in general, is people seem to think I'm some like super rich, like super famous person when it's not really the case. But yeah, I don't know. I think people see that social status, and a lot of people want to be recognized. They want to be heard. They want to be noticed. They want people to connect with them and to look up to them because that's what we all do. That's what we all want. I would say, in a sense. I think everybody wants to be accepted in some form or fashion, whether they say they don't.
Oh, geez, that's so true, man. I couldn't like agree with that more. We're all searching to greater degrees than others sometimes, but all searching for that identity, all searching for like the purpose and stuff like that.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, that's like a way more sturdy way of wording it than I did.
And that's what people find their identity in, right? Like, just using myself as an example, I could go and say, wow, I've almost got 4,000 subscribers. This is my identity now. I am I am 4,000 subscribers. I am not Tyrell. I'm not this, nerdy guy that likes to develop websites and whatnot. Like, you find your identity in the wrong things. And when you're pinning it on, like, when you're playing that numbers game, you can get yourself into like very, very shaky territory, because
Yeah,
now your identity's based on something that is literally always changing for better and for worse.
in a lot of ways though, or actually not in a lot of ways, in very few ways, it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because
Mhm.
on one side of things, you want to humbly look at that number and be like, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool that people enjoy what I do and use it for motivation.
Hmm.
But on the other side of things, if you let it get to you, and if other people are letting it morph their image of you, which again, I haven't seen that in my personal life, but I'm sure it's out there, then it's toxic.
Yeah.
And it's like you gotta find I would say middle ground, but I think you gotta be closer to not caring than caring, but putting that care into the right places, like how well you're entertaining your audience, how much you're enjoying what you do, how much you feel comfortable putting yourself out there, all of those um things that may seem small on the surface but are huge in the grand scheme of things. Hopefully I'm making sense. I don't know. I don't know if I just went off on a ramble or not, but
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I think honestly, I don't know if there were a lot of points in there, Slumber, and I don't know if this will necessarily relate, but I think one of the best things for me in terms of like helping stay motivated and help keep my perspective was literally having a Discord. And I know like Discords can get wildly toxic and just bat crap crazy and can go every way wrong that you could imagine. But having people that like what I do being able to now hang out and talk with me and me talk with them, it's given me like this kind of renewed passion, because I've been doing it, for a couple of years, 2.5 years now, and put out like 220 videos or something like that. there will be times where you kind of need that extra drive and that extra push. And having people that like what I do to be able to like chat with and talk to you about anything and about the channel kind of helps keep me going when I can't necessarily find it in myself that week to do something. It's very interesting. But I think it depends,
Definitely.
like, again, like how you build your channel.
I'd say self motivation is a very important skill to have and to try to learn. Like there are a lot of skills that I think is very important to learn while starting your YouTube channel and growing and maintaining your YouTube channel. Is just patience is one thing, self motivation, and just not and being your biggest cheerleader. I said this on YouTube or Twitter the other day. Be your biggest cheerleader, not your biggest critic. Because
Mm,
everybody, you're going to
that's
get
good.
criticized by a million people anyway. So
Yeah.
why are you criticizing yourself? If you enjoyed it, put your passion and enjoy it and give yourself motivation. Like there's a lot of videos, even recently. I've only recently started to get somewhat decent at video editing, where a lot of my videos look like absolute trash. It looks like a kindergartner made them. But I'm proud of those videos because of the content that is being displayed in them and not necessarily because of my skills at the time. So, because you can always get better. And as my videos are showing now, the newer documentaries, they look much, much better. And they're only going to continue to get much, much better. And that's just because I motivate myself. I'm like a cheerleader to myself. Because sometimes I look at stuff and I'm like, this looks stupid. But then I have to remind myself, like, but this is the best I can do right now. And I think the story is good enough anyway. So I think when it comes to crime stuff anyway, I don't necessarily need to worry about all the crazy visuals because the story is kind of more important.
You know
Yep.
what? I do have a really, really what I would like to think a good question. What do you think about people who get into this and feel like their voice, and I do mean their voice, I'm talking about literally the way that they sound, isn't good enough?
Um, I think that's again poison. um, like my experience, I have a pretty weird voice. A lot of people don't think. A lot of people either say that I try too hard or that I don't sound scary or I don't have the voice for this. And obviously they're wrong. But your own style, you need to cultivate it and be confident with your own voice. I mean, look at Chills. Arguably, in my opinion, the biggest narrator on the platform and has the most memed voice on the platform. But he ran with it and he didn't let that discourage him from creating something. People are always going to hate on you. There's tons of narrators with lisps. I have speech impediments myself. I have a stutter and I have a slight lisp. I can't even say words with the sh in them. I literally can't say certain words, but I do my best anyway. And people don't really mind that much because one, dialect's a thing. People all over the world and even all over the country sound completely different. I've got a my family literally sounds like this, brother. They all talk like this because we're all from the deep south, but I do not have that accent. I do not sound anywhere near them. And it's funny because I grew up here my whole life. They're all like this, brother. Go get that polecat. You know what I mean? It's like we're here. We're all Southern, but I don't sound like that at all.
Yeah.
People have their own voice, and you just have to be confident in what you have. Like you can't change your voice. So if you're gonna do audio content, just be happy with what you got and just try to get better because it's just like singing. Scientifically, anybody can be a good singer because it's a muscle. The more you practice, the better it is. So the more you read, the better you're gonna be.
And there's
Nobody
so many
starts off being good.
styles, you
Exactly.
know?
Nobody starts off a god. Nobody. I'm sure Slumber didn't start off reading the way he does now, and I did not start reading as fluently as I did, when I first started, as I do now. So everybody starts from something. You have to figure it out. But again, it's just the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, yeah. I only ask because you mentioned being your biggest cheerleader, and I can't count the amount of times I've seen on Twitter people being like, I really want to get into horror narration, but I feel like I don't have the voice for it. And it's like, you do have the voice for it. You want to know how I know that? Because everybody does. You know,
Mhm.
it's
Yep.
it's all about how you do it, how you use it. You know what I mean? Like, I if you've got a dorky voice or whatever, make that your thing, and I
Mhm.
promise you, you'll find an audience for it. Because, if you sound distinctly different from everybody else, that's going to be something that helps you. That's not going to hinder you. That's going to make you you. And even
Oh
if
yeah.
people don't subscribe the first time that they hear you, they're going to remember it. And then when they find you again, they're gonna be like, you know what? I actually kind of like that other video I found from this guy. If he's gonna be showing up in my recommended, let's toss him a sub. Let's follow along. Let's see what he's doing. And
Yeah.
I feel like people just don't realize that. Like the more different your voice is, I feel like it's only going to help you. It's not going to hurt you.
No,
Agreed.
I
And
agree to
confidence is
that.
a huge thing too. Like, if you've got a lisp, if you've got a stutter, if you've got this, you've got that, be confident with it because people will see that confidence and be like, you know what? I bet this guy knows, but he's working pretty hard. He's making some good content. I like it. I'm going to subscribe.
Man,
And that's how it is.
I've got a Canadian accent, man. Like there
Embrace
was
it.
oh dude, literally like legit. I've had people actually commenting like you must be from Canada because they say a boat and stuff like that. And
A
yeah, hey,
sword.
dude, I say a lot, man, in my day-to-day. Like you will get a for literally every meaning. It's got so many different contexts to it.
I just
But
assume everybody's Australian, to be honest.
you just assume everyone's Australian.
Yeah, I honestly thought you were from Australia for like the first couple of weeks that I knew you.
That's actually hilarious.
I assume everybody's from there, but anyways.
Oh, I feel so special. Um no, like it's one of those things like I when it comes to saying certain words and stuff like that, I have a very distinct way of saying things and you can either try and cover that up and somehow mouth the words to say about. I don't know how you guys do that, but
About
about
a boot.
a boot, man.
I feel like it's harder to say a boot because I'm used to saying about. But like
Except
a
right?
boot.
But it's hard for me to say about. Like that takes a lot of work. But it's one of those things like if you've got something like that and people have distinctly mentioned my voice and accent and being from Canada and stuff like that. Um it's one of those things where you can either like embrace it or you can try to change it. You know, and for I can't lie, like there was one time where I'm like maybe I should hide how I say certain words in order to kind of fit in with the crowd. It's like, man, F that. Like I'm proud with where I come from, with how I sound. I know like it makes me unique. And so if, people don't like it and they can just move right along. But when it comes down to having that voice, whether you're worried about it or not, just do it. Just run with it and own it.
There's
Yeah.
always going to be people that dig it.
Oh yeah.
Always. You just got to
Canadian
find them.
narrator would be lit, and I'm sure there's plenty of other Canadian narrators out there. I just feel like people like some people try to trivialize dumb things to discourage people, and you should like. I feel like as long as you have confidence in yourself, you know who you are as a person. None of these things should really slow you down because people are
Oh
always
yeah.
going to say stupid shit. That's why I keep saying be your own cheerleader because people are always going to try to drag you down. That's just how it is, especially on YouTube. People are toxic, man. They're like people just want to say incredibly vulgar shit just to see what happens.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that actually segues into something I wanted to ask you guys about. And it comes to like what would you guys say to a newer narrator who's getting hung up on their first dislike or maybe a comment that was a little bit not nice or even in general, it doesn't even have to be brand spanking new, but it's just a channel in general that gets hung up on that kind of stuff.
I think it's tough. There's times where I get hate comments and it still gets to me. Like I mean there's a few things that get to me, but only because I feel like they're commented so often. Like people will tell me how to pronounce a word and it's like I know. I know and I don't care. Like that's not how I say it. It's never going to be how I say it. If you don't like it, either ignore it or go somewhere else. You know what I mean? And I know
Hmm.
that sounds terrible. That makes me sound like I don't care about people who consume my content, the people who support me. But it's like just let it go. You know what I mean? Like just I don't know.
Man,
So
I'd have no
it's
issue telling someone where to go if they decided to harp on something stupid like that.
yeah, I only say
Yeah.
that because just today somebody was commenting about how I say a specific word and it's like I don't care. You know
Oh,
what I mean? It's
what
like I
word?
see it so often and he just so happened to be the person that I kind of I'm not gonna say blew up on because I didn't really blow up, but I just kind of told him like just go somewhere else then. You know what I
What
mean?
what word is it?
Yeah.
Um, Well, there was two. One was buried. I say buried like buried, which I
Buried,
think is
buried.
still right. And then the other one was basically any word that starts with un, like
Mhm.
except for understand. I say understand like understand, but like unpopular, it's unpopular, not unpopular. You know what I mean?
That's such a minor difference.
And yeah, yeah, and he was like livid about it. Like he was so mad about how I said I can't remember exactly which word it was. I think the word was actually maybe the word was unpopular. I think that might have been the word. But either way, it's like they're both right. It's just two different dialects. Like I'm not going to
Oh yeah,
change my whole entire speech pattern, especially with something like that that's so often. Like it's something I would have to really pay attention for every single time I record because there's so many words that start off with un. And like I said, the only word I can think of that I say quote unquote properly that starts with un is understand because understand doesn't sound right. But
understand.
it's a different
Yeah,
dialect. Like when I see unpopular or whatever, it's unpopular. It's not unpopular. And that's just because of the way I speak, the way that I've grown up, and I'm not going to change it now just because some guy on YouTube doesn't like it. But I know your question is a lot more about what I would say to those people, and honestly, I don't think I have good advice because I
well,
could tell them to try and ignore it, but that's like advice I should be taking myself.
you know
That's what I
what's
was gonna say, but you give people power because like that's what they want. They want a reaction. So more often than not, I just don't give them a reaction. The only time I really reply to stuff like that is if it's like mainly just like if it's attacking another viewer or if it's somebody like trying to like it's just mainly if people are being negative or gross about crimes and stuff that I cover because like I believe respect is the most important thing for those types of things. And that's the only time I think I let it actually bother me. But I feel like
mm.
if you feed the troll gets bigger.
You know what's funny, and this was actually making me laugh while you were explaining that, Slumber, is there's this story. Now I don't know how you guys pronounce futile or futile, but
Yup, I've gotten
depend
comments about
yo
that word.
depending on the context, I'll say futile, and depending on a separate context, I'll say futile. You know,
Mhm.
but there was this
Mhm.
one story that had those two different contexts, and I used futile to in one context and futile in the other. And halfway through, I'm like, I should probably stick to one pronunciation. Like people are going to get confused. And the same with buried versus buried. It depends like how it's being used in the sentence, how I'll pronounce it. And I'm like, I should maybe stick to a one way. So I was just kind of laughing at that.
I will say the one word, whenever it comes up, I know somebody's gonna say something about it, is roof. Like I don't care. I
Wait,
don't care
like,
if the
wait,
proper
wait, wait.
pronunciation is roof. I
Oh,
don't
okay,
care.
roof.
Like
I thought it was like
it
rough a
is not
dog,
like it
or
is not roof. It is roof. Like I don't care. You can tell me in the comments section 1,000 times that it's
yo,
roof.
I'm
I will
gonna do
never
that
say
on
it
your
that
next
way.
video, man.
It will absolutely never happen. It will always be roof in my eyes because that's just what I grew up with. You know what I mean? That's the way people in my area talk. That's how we pronounce it. Like I'm not going to change it just because some people on YouTube want me to. Like again, it just goes back to people just need to understand that there's different dialects and that's what makes each narrator more unique. Like if we all pronounce things the
Yeah,
exact same, if we all talk the exact same, if we all went for I don't know, a spooky voice or a radio broadcast voice or whatever, if we
yeah.
all went for that same style, there would be nothing to separate us from each other. We
Mhm.
would we would just all be the same thing. And people already harp on about how, oh, we all make the same content, which I feel like we really don't. I mean, it might be in the same genre, but at its core, the content is never going to be the same, even if it's the same story. Um,
You
I don't
know,
know.
in
It's
your
one of those things I can just rant forever.
in your future videos, I am like you might not even say roof or roof, but I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna tell you how it's said.
I think on my last video, I actually said roof, and I have yet to get a comment,
All
but
right.
I
Well,
know it's
I'll
I
see
know
you
it's coming.
there after this episode.
Yeah,
Um,
that's just the consistent one that I can think about.
when you mentioned talking like about comments and stuff like that and not replying, and I agree with Swamp. Like, what if there's a comment that attacks the writer or attacks me, I will generally reply to those. But if it's someone just being straight up stupid, I've had a few where they're like, "Man, this video was so boring, I couldn't even watch it." And it's funny because I'll reply after I've cooled down and say, "Oh, like, what could I do to make the video better?" And every single time, those people have deleted their comments, which is the strangest thing.
People got to realize constructive criticism is not insulting people. Constructive criticism is constructive and positive, not negative. If you're like, you fucking suck, learn to read, that's not constructive criticism. Hey, I liked your video, but if you did this better, I would enjoy it more. That's constructive
Mm, I
criticism.
like those ones. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
But I've
people.
seen scenarios where they word it that way, and then you kind of explain why you do it your way.
Mhm.
Just for example, Roof, you know what I mean? Like just to hop back on something I already touched on. You know, I'll say like, yeah, I say it that way because that's just the way I say it. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Oh,
gonna have, and then
okay.
they'll be like mad about it. You know what I mean? They'll be like, well, if you're not going to change it, then apparently you can't take constructive criticism. And it's like I
Yeah.
understood that it was constructive criticism. I hear you. I know why you're saying it. I'm just not going to take it because yeah, I don't care. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, but then there's other examples where constructive criticism comes in and it is very helpful. There's been things that people have pointed out that upon it being pointed out, I'm like, oh yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like, okay, yeah,
Well, I
next
mean,
video I got you. You
that's
know?
how we all got here. I think in some form or of another. Like, we didn't all just start being able to read stories. You know, if you were told that you were good all the time, you could very well be just that naturally talented, but 9 times out of 10 we got here because we got those constructive comments, decided it was valid and implemented it, and then it became a habit. And now you've taken all these different comments and implemented all these different things, and here we are. I love those comments though that are like, "I
Absolutely.
love this video, but if you or I love this video. If you could just show a little bit more emotion when something's going on, or this or that or the other thing, I think you would just be so much more better." And I'm like, "Well, thank you. Like, I appreciate that so much. I will definitely keep that in mind." And generally, those people are the ones that will come around and rather than give you constructive criticism over and over again, will start like praising you for what you're doing. At least what
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Those
Yeah,
are my
I
favorite
think it's
ones.
all it's all so situational. Like
Yeah.
I think back on one that I got, this was probably like a year ago now. Somebody commented and they were like I really do enjoy the fact that you go for a more natural narration style, but I feel like you could do a really good scary voice and I feel like your videos would do or would be a lot better if you tried that. And I replied saying like, you know, I really appreciate that, but that's not going to happen. I enjoy the way that I narrate. I narrate this way because it's what I would like. So I'm trying to, you know, find an audience that enjoys that style as well. You know, and
Yeah.
the guy was like, "Oh yeah, no, that's totally respectable." And I still see his comments all the time, all the
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
like he's still actively watching. So it's like it was constructive criticism. You know, I told him my reasoning for not doing that, and it was still a healthy interaction
Yeah.
because for one, you know, I interacted with somebody and told them like, "Yeah, no, I hear you, but this is why I'm not going to." And it, you know, like just because you don't take the constructive criticism doesn't mean that it's not healthy not to in some scenarios. I think there needs to be a lot of gauging on what exactly the person is saying,
Yeah.
maybe some of the underlying
Hmm.
tones, and
I mean,
whether or not they're trying to change you or trying to tell you about something that you're doing wrong. You know what I'm saying?
I think
Yeah.
it also has to be taken into account. Just because one person says something doesn't mean you should follow it. Like
Not
if
at all.
say lots of people start saying something, then yes, then it's obviously an actual problem. But just because one person's preference wasn't met doesn't mean you should change your entire thing that's been working for say hundreds of thousands of other people. So I would say like when it comes to taking advice, it really how many people are saying it, what the advice is for, what's actually being successful for you. And I think if Slumber were to start doing the creepy voice, sure, it might help him. It could be successful, but why would he do that when he's already incredibly successful just being himself?
And that's what people are going to want, right? They're going to want you to be you rather than you trying to put on that creepy voice and talk in a way that isn't necessarily you, because people will see through that. And
Yeah.
I think it would do worse for you as a brand and as a channel and as
At
a
this point,
narrator.
it would, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's totally different if you started that way.
Hmm.
Oh
And
well,
again,
yeah,
you know, like I
exactly.
feel like whenever I talk about these things, it's not me dogging on channels that do that.
No, not
I
at
think, like I said, it's awesome that
their
there's
own.
different styles out there. I whatever floats your boat, whatever you enjoy, whatever you would enjoy listening to, I think is the best route to go with how you want to proceed with your keyword, your YouTube channel.
all. And if we didn't say it enough last time, Slumber, just
Yeah.
do what you're interested in.
Yeah.
Because we said that a million
Said the same
times.
thing like 50 times. I mean, I don't know, like
Yeah.
it's such a blanket statement that just
Mhm.
always applies.
Yeah. There was one other question, kind of. I guess I don't know if it'd be a question, but do you guys, I guess, ever remove negative comments? Have you ever done that?
I have in the past, but again, it's really just situational. I delete comments with links. That's not really the same thing, but I guess it counts under the question. Like if it's links, I'll always delete it just because who knows what you're posting there. And I think it's crazy that YouTube even lets that happen. But I delete comments depending on what they're hating on. I don't care if people hate on me, like I said earlier, but if people are being nasty to others in the comments, like say if Slumber commented nice video, and some guy's like you're idiot, this video sucks, like I'll delete that because why does that need to be there? That's
Mm.
completely dumb to attack others for who they like. But like I don't normally just delete hate comments just because I don't want to see them. Like I think it's good to leave them there because it shows that you're not, it just shows that it's real. I feel like you're not creating this little bubble of just positivity because the world is not just positivity. I focus on the positive comments and not the negative comments, but I think having the negative comments there is kind of a lot more organic and gives you that reminder that you can always be better, but at the same time not everybody is positive and not everybody's going to like you. So it's a good reminder to know that you are human, I guess.
You let your fan base go after them. That's the plan, right?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
fans want to go after it and do their thing, they can go for it. But personally, I'm not gonna attack somebody because they don't like me or they said something dumb.
You just like a community post with a link to that comment. Like, get them, boys.
Get him, boys. Show get the gator. Woo!
Get the gator.
Yeah, I would say my answer is very similar, but I will say, and I don't know, maybe it's controversial, but I don't see anything wrong with deleting hate comments.
I don't see anything wrong
Oh,
either.
I
no.
don't see anything wrong with that. I'm gonna say the same thing again. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. It's your YouTube channel. Like,
I was
Oh,
you
gonna
know what
say
I
the
mean?
same thing.
Like,
yeah.
it's your YouTube
Your
channel. You
life,
can do
bro.
whatever you want.
No,
I think it's so
it's true.
ridiculous how like like okay, say somebody gets into drama, right? Like just for the sake of context, let's just say it's petty drama. Okay. Let's not get into like some legitimate stuff. Petty drama. And a bunch of people are commenting on their videos saying, "Oh, you did this, you did that." If you're running through deleting all those comments, why can't you? Who cares?
Well,
Like
that could just
you
make you
can
look
if you
guilty,
want,
man.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it
yeah, you
can, but
can if you
like
want, but you know,
you can, but I don't see why people attack people for deleting comments. Like I
yeah.
don't know.
It.
I
I
think
think
it's
it
so
depends.
petty and so
Mm.
dumb.
People caring too much about what other people are doing with their lives. Once again.
Yep.
I think it just depends on why you're deleting it. Did you like scam someone and now you don't want people to know? So when people call you,
Well,
yeah,
you're just
context is
gonna like,
everything.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
That's
that's why
essentially
I'm
what
saying
I'm getting at. Yeah.
that's why I was trying to say like petty because obviously there are scenarios where it's obvious that they're hiding something and that's different. That's
Mm.
different. Uh that's why it's so hard to talk about some of these topics and have like a strong opinion on one side and kind of like a fence sitting opinion on the other side of it because it can make it sound like you're supporting something that you're not but um it
Oh
just it
no,
just depends on
yeah,
the context, you know what I mean?
I
It
get you.
totally depends on the
Say
context.
ultimately just YouTube is just YouTube. It's in the name, right? And it used to be the motto, maybe not so much more, but broadcast yourself. That's just how
Mm.
I see it. YouTube is a place to be yourself, broadcast it to the world, and potentially make a career off of something that you enjoy.
How
And,
times have
and
changed.
if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I don't know. Just do whatever you want. Like, just again, like, what's with like too many? Everybody just cares so much about what everybody else thinks, And when it
Yeah.
comes to YouTube, it really doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't. They can't see your analytics. They can't see what's under the hood of your channel. So like, as long as you know what your channel is and you're happy with what your channel is, like really it just goes back to my famous saying, who cares?
That's a
Do
great
you,
saying.
man? Just fucking do you. Delete your comments, pin all your comments, reply to them all, heart them all, do whatever you want. Who do what you are happy doing. Nobody's gonna
Yeah.
arrest you. There's no rules to this. You know, this is just all advice and personal anecdotes from us and from our years of doing this. That hopefully, if you take and apply to your own content in your own unique way, it can work out for you too. And then you can eventually be the person sitting on the podcast being like, well, I did this, it didn't work. And when I did this, it worked. So use that for what you will. And I guess that's all I got to say about that.
Mic drop.
100%. That's something that we try and convey at the end of every single one of these podcasts. So I'm glad that we have it out of the way now.
Yeah. This is not gospel, but just literally our anecdotal accounts on what we do and what we think might work. But I've only ever deleted comments that are just outright hateful. But one of the things I actually try to do very hard is highlight the positive comments, not to create like some sort of echo chamber, but I feel like if you're focusing on the negative comments, I feel like that's what you invite from people who kind of want to be shouted out, want that vanity. You know, hey, look, I got mentioned by so and so because I called them like a fat turd. You know, I would rather say, hey, look at this wonderful comment um someone left me, in hopes that maybe more people would kind of express that sort of opinion. Because like I think we'd be lying if we said, you know, I guess not everyone would, but embrace the hate, you know, and invite the hate. You know, at least for me, that's not. I don't want to wake up every day, log into YouTube, and see a thousand different reasons why I should die or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. Right? That's not the kind of brand that I want to facilitate. I want to
Yeah. It goes
facilitate a
back
brand.
to, oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Continue.
Okay, I'll end it right real quick here with saying that I want to like facilitate the kind of brand where it's respectful, and that's why I think that at least my community right now is that way, because I tend to prop and really reply to and show attention to those that take the time to either leave constructive comments or just leave me just straight up fantastic comments. Like that's the stuff that I want to bring to light and shine a spotlight on and help facilitate that. So
Yeah, I think it goes back to like what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream about curating your audience. It's just all about how you curate your audience. So if you're promoting and focusing more on positivity, you're going to have a much more positive fan base. People who want to harp on the negative, I see it purely as just a marketing move. It is a lot easier to grow off of hate on YouTube, but not in this genre, I'd say. YouTube again is a very big room, and we're in a very small box in a corner of that big room. So like when it comes to this content, like harping on the hate doesn't work for you.
mm,
But say if we were Jake Paul or something like that, harping on the hate works, because people are gonna want to come and tell you to F off or kill yourself or any of that stuff because you're going to give them the fuel that they want. You're gonna give them the attention they want. But as you said, you want to curate respect. You want to curate fun. You want to curate positivity, and just an all-around healthy community without people having somewhere people can come and escape the troubles of the world. That's
yeah,
always been my main motivation. It's just to come
yeah.
where we can escape, leave the politics, all that stuff behind, just enjoy what we have and enjoy each other for the mutual interest in scary stories and everything else that goes on with this YouTube channel.
That's why like it kind of bothers me, and I touched on this before in a previous uh, episode when I see the screenshots taken after someone leaves a witty reply to some mildly nasty comment. You know,
Yeah,
because
that's
that's
really
exactly what
bad
I'm
on
like.
Twitter.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm like speaking against. Because like, if you keep doing that, that's what you're gonna get, in my opinion. And kind of to support my point, like I posted a picture on Twitter. I think I did. Yeah, I did. Of a really nice comment someone left me to that end. To you will get my attention if you treat me with respect and like I'm a human being, and that's
Hmm.
that's just what I want, a respectful community.
I think yeah. I don't know. It's a lot about I think people need to give YouTubers, quote unquote YouTubers, just people, a little bit more room to I don't know, like nobody's perfect. I I think we've touched on this before, but somebody posting a negative comment in their response, it is immature. I've done it before. I Most people I feel like for some odd reason have, but I don't know, like it's something that I feel like anytime somebody does something like that, I know in my cases when I've done that, which isn't too terribly often, I feel bad about it afterwards.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like you react in the heat of the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and then people hold that against you, and it's like, okay, yes, I did something stupid. I know, whatever. I don't stand by it either, but then people remember you for that because it's the internet, and they give you absolutely no room to recover from it. I know I'm like being a little bit dramatic on something small, but
Well, it's
it
very
it
much
is
like
the way
that,
it
though.
goes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be dramatic about it. I'm not saying it's the biggest deal in the world, but it is
You're the
just
one
the
with
way
the
that it
platform,
conveys.
so you're the one with the responsibility ultimately in
Yep.
everybody's eyes. And I agree
Yep.
with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I've
To an
gotten in
extent,
trouble
yeah.
defending that point quite a few times on Twitter, but I think everybody's accountable for what they do or say, and you are obviously accountable for, what you're doing with your platform. So
Absolutely, absolutely. But
you
I
have to
I
keep that
am
in
just
mind.
simply saying that in some cases, I think people need to give others a little
Yeah.
bit more wiggle room because, at the end of the day, we are all human, and make mistakes and do things that we regret, and
Yeah.
uh, you know,
Okay.
Unrealistic expectations on just normal human beings.
Oh man. Yeah. That's a killer sometimes.
It's weird too, because like the job that we do, it's a very cool job, and it's a job that I'm sure most people know we're grateful for. But
oh, definitely,
it's not much different from, say, your dad who works at the local television station, or your uncle who works for the local radio station. And it's zero different than your favorite actor on American Horror Story, or your favorite show on Hulu with independent actors nobody's ever heard of. It's the same thing. It is all the same. It is entertainment. So if you can respect those people, you can give them boundaries, you can do the same for us. We're not any special, we're not any more rich, we're not any more, you know, out of left field than any of the other entertainment, sources out there are. So
yeah. And that's not me saying that, like, say I say something stupid on Twitter, which I have.
mhm.
If somebody calls me out for it, it's not like they're in the wrong. I did something stupid. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
gotta take
It happens.
accountability.
I've
Accountability
I've
is a
I've made
very good trait.
there's a few tweets that I can think about over the years that, like, again, going to sound a lot more dramatic than I mean to, but like I'll be laying down at night and I'm like, God, I can't believe I tweeted that shit. You know what I mean?
I don't think you're
Like,
being
but
dramatic by
but but it
saying that, man.
happens. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
know. And it's not like I'm mad at anybody for, uh, at the time that it happened, calling me out for it. 'Cause it's like, no, yeah, like, if I wasn't called out on my shit, I probably wouldn't make the same mistake a second time because I was already feeling the way that most people responded before they even did. But they're just feeling the same way that I do at this point. So why would I be mad at them? Um,
Well,
I
hey.
think it's a lot about people just being able to accept that they can be wrong, and people also being able to accept that other people can be wrong.
Well,
If that
don't you
makes
worry,
sense.
man. 10 years from now, someone's gonna dig that up and remind you.
They
Don't you
already
worry.
do.
They already do. Well, then
They
you're
already
already
do.
there, man. You've peaked.
Yeah.
Well, dang. I don't think I have anything else to say, guys.
Well, shit. I guess this is where we all part ways. I ride a donkey into the swamp, and I guess I
Well, we can't
talk
end
to you
this
guys
on me
another time.
talking about regrettable tweets. Hold up.
No, we'll
we,
answer
we
some.
can't we can't
Cancel
we can't
slumber.
we can't let that be the ending.
We'll
I probably made it sound a lot worse than it really
no,
is,
man.
dude.
You're good.
Ebola.
No, we'll answer some questions here real quick and go from there. But like, do you guys have anything else that you want to say? I feel like we covered a heck of a ton.
Swamp, how many times have you watched Shrek 2 on Blu-ray?
To go with
Asking
the
the real
gimmick
questions.
more times than I can count. To be honest, I actually probably haven't watched Shrek since like middle school.
You're
He's a
exposed.
fake.
It's a fight.
Yeah,
He's a
It's a
phony.
fight.
He's a big
As I
fat
said, as I
phony.
mentioned earlier, I
Slumber.
literally have a large following on Twitter because people like my Shrek memes, but I actually don't make Shrek memes. I
Dude,
just make
every single time you make a Shrek meme now, I'm gonna reply with like a Family Guy gif of that guy spray
Yeah,
painting phony on the
he's
side
a
of
big fat
Peter's car.
phony.
I
Hey, look.
just really have an obscure I have a really obscure humor. Like I think it's funny just to say completely random shit that's completely out of context, and I like doing that with Shrek. I like being like Shrek 2 on DVD, only on DVD is the only thing you should be praying to at night. I just like saying random shit like that because people will just run with it with whatever way they want, and I just have fun doing that on Twitter. And Twitter is pretty much just a place where I go to just goof off. So, oh man, but I see something on the show notes you sent me that I don't think we touched on, and it was what inspires us to keep making content. And genuinely, I would just say is the reactions and the comments people will leave on videos, whether they're good and or bad, and two is simply because this is the only thing I've ever had interest in doing in my entire life. So I have been a kid who struggled growing up my entire life because I had zero interest in anything. I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I had some interest in music, so that's all I did. And outside of that, I've done nothing else outside of working jobs that I hated and not having any interest in anything. So when I discovered YouTube around 2006, I was obsessed with it, and simply because I've always been obsessed with radio as well. Radio is kind of a dead thing. There's not really much of a career in that. So what's the new radio? YouTube. So YouTube is always been what I've wanted to do. And I'm lucky enough that I came up in a time where I didn't even have internet until I was like 15 years old. But when we got that, it was just AOL. We were so far behind the rest of the world with that I have this unbiased, almost pure virgin like sense of the internet, and I enjoy the internet a lot. And ultimately that's just what inspires me to make content, is my love for the internet and my love for sharing stories and just my love for radio.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's
I
great.
just want to make sure I touched on that one because I think that is an important part of YouTube channels is why do you do this? Like what's the real
Oh,
reason that you started this, and what's the
yeah.
reason why you still do this?
And that will help shape your perspective in the future as long as you don't let yourself stray too far from that. Stray too far from your why to something that doesn't matter, like analytics and crap like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose your why. Well, with that said, I think this would be a perfect ending point. Slumber, do you have anything to add on to that before we close out?
Not really. I don't know. I mean, if I was to answer the question, it's just because I really don't see myself doing anything different right now, and
Awesome.
it's fun. I don't know. I can't really elaborate much more than that. That's really just take it for what it is.
Short and sweet and to the point. I like it. Well, before we get into these questions, I want to thank you all for listening to this podcast episode. And for those of you watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us. This has been episode number 4, talking about perspective and everything in between. I'm joined by Slumber and Swamp. And thank you guys again for joining me. And thank you, Swamp, for agreeing to do this with us.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, your input has been quite valuable. So with that said, we'll be streaming next, Slumber and I at least, next Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Don't know what we're talking about yet, but we'll figure that out through the week. So we'll hope to see you back then. We'll hope to see you then. And if you'd like the cut version of this, because maybe you like to listen to 2-hour-long conversations, you'll be able to find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. All right,
Good night,
so
everyone.
yeah, that's it. So this is kind of Swamp, depending on how late you want to keep going with this. We just usually kind of shoot the crap and answer questions in the chat, see if we can maybe help someone out.
Sure, yeah, I'm down to answer a few questions. I do got to leave somewhat soon, but I can answer some questions.
Cool, man. Well, let's just go through here. Slumber, if you, or even Swamp, if you have the chat open, whatever. You pick
Yeah,
out
we
any
can
that.
make it a little bit brief if that's what we're going for.
Got a ton of
Yeah.
comments from Dingleberry here. Awesome
Yeah.
name, by the way.
um.
Yeah.
I'm
Are there
just
any horror narration channels that copy others? I would say yes, but I wouldn't like call anybody out directly because you can't really prove that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you
even
never know
if
if
you like you don't own that topic.
yeah.
you don't
I mean, you
let me
never
see
know
your
too,
copyright.
like people having similar styles and similar taste is a thing too, so it's hard to, pinpoint somebody and calling them out publicly, I feel like would be kind of a
I've had
lame
some
thing to do
obvious
anyway.
experiences where people were copying me, but I usually just don't say anything because it's like it's a lose-lose situation. If I be like, "Hey, you copied me," I'm just gonna be like, "Well, you got the ego. You think you own this, huh, bro? Huh?" It's like it's like, well, no, but like it doesn't really. I don't
But
know.
research shows
Man, research
on such
shows
and
that
such
people use
on
the
such and
same
such a thing.
thumbnail and title as me and use my tags. It might be copying.
You read stories? How dare you?
What? How dare you? Yeah. It's like you don't own the copyright to living, bro.
Yeah.
It's a free country, bro.
Let me see your trademark on speaking English.
Oh man. What horror narration channels are badass in real life? Nightmare Files for sure, and Let's Read, I would say, and
Are they
maybe Slumber,
badasses?
maybe Slumber,
Maybe.
maybe Slumber, maybe Slumber.
Slumber, are you a
maybe
badass
maybe
in real
back
life?
maybe back in the day.
Yeah.
I just say
Nowadays,
they are
you're just
because they have really cool jobs. They both work in job. I don't know if I'm not gonna dox their jobs. I don't know if they release that, but like they both work in like fields where they help people, and I respect that a lot.
Yeah. You know what? We kind of touched on it earlier, but I don't know. Like, right now, I'll back up. In October, I weighed like 274 pounds. I was a thick boy. And
Mm.
right now I'm 245, but I'm gunning for joining the military. And that's what I'm dead set on. And I don't know how my channel is going to survive with the like 12 weeks out in basic and then everything else after that. Like, I'm gonna have to do some hella uploading, like down to one a week. Or maybe I'll just like call up my
come
friends.
back fully rejuvenated.
Yeah, man.
Just
I don't
like
know.
just like pick up on the staff sergeant's voice and then just start narrating stories like that. That'd be dope.
You
I
could
don't know how
always
it's gonna work.
try to make a bunch of content beforehand.
Yeah,
They
That's
have
I think
stuff
that's what a
like
lot of
that.
people do.
that's the thing, but like with 12 weeks and like
Yeah.
3 videos a week, but even with 1 video a week, that's like a lot of narrating along with doing that. I don't know. Maybe I can like taper off before that and
Yeah.
then just record extra while putting out less. I don't know. That
I
could
have
be
a
a
lot
thing.
of
Sure, you figure it
respect for
out.
people that can actually get ahead on content. Throughout the whole entire time that I've done YouTube, I've only been ahead on videos one time, and that's
No,
when I went out to Vegas.
legit.
That's my
That is the
biggest issue. It's like
that
I
is the
can't not.
only time.
I can't not be a week or two ahead at all times. Like if I have like less than 3 videos scheduled, I am like a nervous wreck.
What? Dude, I
I've
live
been
by the
getting better
seat of
with
my
that.
pants, man. I'm like,
That's
hey, I
Yeah,
that's
should
no,
like
probably do a video today.
I'm starting tomorrow's video
I'm actually
after this
exporting one right now.
Nice.
I'm uploading another one as we're talking too. So like I'm a fiend. Like that's the biggest problem with me in general is just like trying to disassociate myself a bit more with my
Yeah.
channel.
So the way that I'm currently doing it is if I feel like uploading a story or like recording, I'll record. Usually try not to go more than 2 or 3 days, but I used to be very strict about it, and now I'm like, hey, I'll upload when I feel like it, and that's just the way I do it.
Oh yeah, man.
It's cool how that
There-
works though, because I told myself a couple of weeks ago that I was gonna just start uploading whenever, and I find myself uploading a lot more
yeah,
than I did when I was on a schedule.
because you're just like, I don't know. There's something weird about holding yourself to some strict schedule like that, where you feel like you can't get out of it. It's kind of like saying to a kid, "No, you can't have that," and then they want it more. I don't know. I see a question here though. What social media platform helps narration channels the most?
All of them.
MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace.
I don't know, man. I'd say like MSN Messenger.
On a real thing, I know a lot of people are gonna very much dislike to hear this, but I've been saying this for 3 years now.
It's gonna be
The
Pinterest.
He's gonna say
the most
Facebook.
exactly the most important social media on the planet still to this day, and in my analytics will show you this. Facebook.
Legit though,
Mo-
like this, like
Facebook, yes.
legit question.
Facebook groups. Facebook
Yeah.
groups, dude. Facebook groups. There's a million scary story groups with hundreds of thousands of people in them. There's a million true crime groups. Dude, groups. Facebook groups.
Okay, but
Very big, very big.
So do you just like parrot your content over there? Like, hey, here I uploaded a video.
It's just like you would share it on Twitter. Just instead of being boring like Twitter makes you be. Like Twitter is horrid because you can't draw in a viewer. You only have like 200 characters to be like, hey, retweet this video please to your existing fan base. On Facebook, you can make a freaking novel. So you can drag somebody into it.
Mm.
What I usually do and what helps me out a ton, especially with my true crime content, is I give a brief summary of the case and get the most interesting, most I guess you say clickbait parts of the video that are going to make people want to check it out. You give them like, hey, this is, say if I'm doing some park ranger stories of like, park rangers have some crazy jobs out there. They see a lot of wild things. Some see things like this, some see things like that. Come find out what else they see. Something that's going to make you want to click on that video. If you just drop a video and leave, it's probably not going to do well.
Mm.
Yeah, I
So,
think there needs to be a little bit more personality in that type of stuff for sure. Like on Twitter, like you said, man, they just don't let you do much. So I don't know. Lately, I've been trying to be more like uh personable or eye catching with it. Like the last
mhm.
time I tweeted out a video, I was like, yeah, my wife's boyfriend let me use the computer last
Yeah,
night.
I like
I
that one.
like
So
that. That was
That was
good.
good. I
That
like how
was good.
everybody
but
went with it too. Like, wow, your
yeah,
wife's boyfriend's really nice.
I think there was literally one person that wasn't sure if I was joking,
Yeah.
which is good because I kind of tweeted that and then I kind of like I hit post and then I looked at it for a second and I'm like, was that a bad idea? And I was like,
Was that a
no,
bad
I'm
idea?
sure I'm sure it'll be fine.
It'll
And
blow
it
over. No
was.
one will
So
notice.
See what
yeah.
happens.
I like what Bad Vibes does, where he'll say like retweet if you like, and then insert some random obscure thing here.
Something that people are probably gonna like, and they want people to know they like it.
Well, he said
Retweet if
like,
you like Glee.
yeah, he's like
Yeah, he's
retweet
like,
if
he's
you
like
like
retweet if
pizza.
you've ever lost your car keys.
Yeah, there's stuff like
God
that,
damn
and
it!
I'll be
Now I
like,
have to.
yeah, well, that's what I've said to him. I'll be like, yeah, man, like, okay, I'll retweet this because I definitely have. And there'll be other times where he'll say like retweet if you've ever done this, and I've never had it, and I won't retweet it, and I'll let him know why. I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I can't retweet it because I have literally never done that.
It's
So
a double-edged sword with that
yeah,
one.
I love having the kind of interaction. But in
Gives
the
the viewers
serious,
power.
it gives the viewers the power. Yeah, you will dictate how big I get. Um, so if you were to like compare Facebook with Twitter, would you say Facebook gives you kind of more engagement?
Facebook's way more important, and I will die on that hill until Facebook is no longer a website. Because until Facebook is no longer a website that is completely used by literally everyone, despite even though they say they don't, I literally do not use Facebook as a genuine. I'm probably one of the few people. I have a Facebook because of my YouTube channel, and I have some pages and groups I like to post my videos on. Aside from that, I don't use Facebook, but people use Facebook. I'm sorry, people use Facebook more than any other place. And where are they using it? For community. So if you go to these community groups, it's like I said, like the narration ones, there's tons of YouTube groups, there's all kinds of stuff that you can find. And as long as you're not obviously self promoting, you're going to do so much more numbers and you're going to translate so many more clicks from Facebook onto your videos. Twitter's great, and White Rabbit does make a good point. Twitter is great for relationships, but outside of that, Twitter sucks for pushing your videos. Twitter is not good at
I
all
feel
for that.
like I feel like Twitter is really good. I would almost say the best if I knew more about how Facebook works. For when you're just starting your channel, because
Yeah, making connections.
like I feel like the core horror fan base is on Twitter,
Hmm.
and they like if you're a new narrator, I've seen this dozens of times. I would almost say 100 times. If I probably could say 100 times and still be genuine. Like a new narrator comes onto the scene, they make a Twitter, and it's just 100 subs first day. You know what I mean? Like, um,
Yeah. But I would
and
just say that's literally just the same 100 small other channels that shout each other out every other day and thinking that it does something.
Mm.
Not to be a dick,
yeah,
but it
yeah.
doesn't.
Well, yeah,
No,
that's
it's true.
kind of what I mean. Like, it's not going to bring you much further than that, other than just connections. Like, I can say with honesty, I probably wouldn't know who Bad Vibes is if it
Yeah.
wasn't for Twitter. I probably wouldn't even really know who you guys are if it wasn't for Twitter. Not, I mean, I didn't find you on Twitter, Swamp. I found you on YouTube, but
Hmm.
the chances of us ever actually talking to each other probably never would have happened. Um, you know, like
Yeah.
just for those examples.
Twitter is probably the best place for connections for sure, but I'd say the most important social media for pushing your content would be Facebook. Without, I would fight anybody on that, and I will die on this hill.
Okay, so
Twitter, like I can get 100 retweets on Twitter, but I get no views. It doesn't translate.
I'm going to take your advice And so, what are you doing? Creating a group?
Well, I have my own group personally. Like I started on Facebook. My career was started on Facebook before I was Swamp Dweller. I was doing my podcast, which was a swamp theme still, and that's why I kind of went to the Swamp Dweller name. I was dwelling in a swamp. Um, Facebook was where I was uploading my podcast and iTunes and all that stuff, obviously. And then I had a YouTube version, which eventually became the Swamp Dweller channel. But over there, like I said, there are just a million groups. Just go to Facebook right now, search scary stories, see how many groups pop up, see how many members are in them, see how active they are. There's a lot of them, and it helps. It does. Again, if you have a very um, if you give a bio with your post, if you can't just post your YouTube video and leave and expect people to click on it, that's never going to happen. Nobody cares, to be honest. There's a billion people in the world. Nobody cares about your YouTube video. You have to make them care. And I'm not trying to hurt people's feelings. I'm just being honest with you. Nobody gives a shit about your stupid fucking narration. I don't mean to be an asshole, but let's be real. Make them care. So that's what Facebook is good for. You can take a paragraph of the most interesting part of your video and drag people in that way. Give them the cliffhanger. Like I said earlier, be like, yeah, this is interesting, this is interesting, this is interesting. Click to find out even more interesting. You know what I
So,
mean? Like,
there's pages and groups.
mm-hmm.
Which one do I want? I literally have not played with this.
Groups,
Okay.
groups. You can have your own page too. Obviously, a Facebook page is, any social media is going to be helpful in reaching new audiences. Facebook has a much larger audience than Twitter, but Facebook's audience is a lot older. So like you obviously have a lot of young people that use Facebook nonstop too as well. Surprisingly, more people use Facebook than Twitter because Facebook also owns things like Instagram and a million other websites that are super popular.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all connected, and you can't do a lot of things on Instagram without connecting with Facebook and vice versa. So Facebook is just such a valuable thing for hitting that much bigger, diverse audience. And especially if you're trying to target a niche audience, those groups allow that so much more than something like Twitter would. Because on Twitter, you have to first make connections with people to even be, aware of that community or be aware to that community. And Facebook, you don't need that. You just simply need to join a group, be accepted into that group, and boom, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Like you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to go the extra mile like you do on Twitter or Instagram. I think Instagram is probably like the most useless thing for horror narrations, but like
Instagram? Yeah.
yeah, I would say if
It,
you're like other YouTubers, if you're like personality channels, vlogs, stuff like that, very good place to go. Like cooking
here's the
channels, all that stuff.
600th
But
thumbnail. Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
for
what are you
us,
gonna?
I don't think it
Like,
works that well.
no,
Like I don't
no.
know, like if promoting your content is that well. Like I notice on Instagram, if I post pictures of myself or my life or memes, they do really well. But if I post my thumbnails or videos, they do half as well. So it's just like all the algorithms on these websites. Like I hate algorithms. I think algorithms on social media make no sense. It makes zero sense on a website like Facebook because you can go on Facebook, you don't see any of your friends, you're just seeing branded and content they think you want to see because you search something up once. It's just like social media is really hard for your benefit, but Facebook
Twitter
groups are really
Twitter
good.
is especially tough if you're trying to share your videos for sure. Because anytime I like tweet out a video link, I mean I might get like 30, 40 likes on it, you know.
Hmm.
Which is cool. I appreciate anybody who supports no matter how many it is. But I've realized that the tweet itself does a lot better. I don't know how good the transfer is. If I say like, "Hey, new video going up tonight with some police officer stories," or I might throw a joke in there just to kind of like bring the tweet some more attention, and then they usually get like more than 30, 40. There's no point in getting the specific numbers, but it's strange how that works because it's like if you have a link in something and you post it to Twitter, nobody cares. It's like they see
No.
the link and they're like, "Nah." Like,
Yeah.
but
Legit
I don't know
though.
if that's because they don't care about the link or instead of hitting like, they hit the link. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's really no way to know. I wish
I
Twitter
mean,
had an
analytics on YouTube
extension.
shows you exactly where it comes from. That's how I know Facebook's a lot more valuable than Twitter. That's why I keep harping on it because your analytics do show you that. It shows you where your outside traffic comes
Yeah.
from, the
Yeah,
percentage.
but I mean like
You can tell, like, if your percentage, if it just doesn't say Twitter at all, that means Twitter is literally useless for you.
yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, there are ways you can tell, but I digress.
No,
Or
I
there's no way to
appreciate
get like
that.
that accurate number. You know what I mean. I mean, I agree with you. I'm just,
Oh yeah, I know. I'm not arguing with you.
oh yeah, I know. It's like that one time with bad vibes, dude. Come
What
on,
do you?
guys, don't fight.
What?
I was like, dude, this is called a debate. It's not an argument.
No, yeah, no. I'm sure it's stream safe. It wasn't even a big deal. But
No,
like
no.
one time Swap and I were just debating about something, and Bad Vibes thought we were arguing. He's like, "Come on, guys, don't argue. We're all friends."
Oh my gosh.
Like, it's
You
not.
had
It was
him
so
you had him
funny,
going
man.
for a loop, man.
I love Bad Vibes. He's such a good dude.
He's a funny guy. There's a lot of that's probably my favorite thing about the community is there are a lot of good people. There are a lot of negative people too, but I really love that about YouTube in general. It's just like when you're in a community, you find a lot of awesome people, and you make a lot of friends that you probably wouldn't have ever had outside of something like YouTube existing.
You know what? I'm sitting here today with you two, and I can confirm.
Confirmed.
All right. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think I'm good.
Same.
All right.
Yeah, same.
All right.
Go
So,
blow up the toilet, bros.
oh my gosh. Well, I guess this is where we will end it. Thank you for the questions, Dingleberry and White Rabbit. Thank you for joining. We're going to end the stream now because it's late. And once again, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. And I hope you have a great